Welcome everybody to a new episode in my developer interview series. Today it's on me to welcome Matthias. Hello Matthias, how are you?
Hey Marcus, I'm doing good. How are you today?
Perfectly fine. I love doing developer interviews. We know each other since, I don't know, ages probably. We've been on planes together, we've
Oh
had
yeah.
a bunch of beers together. Um, The only thing that I really can remember about your past is JSF. So that's where we first met. Why are we here today and about what are we going to talk? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
All right, yeah. My name is Matthias. I'm with Red Hat, and there I lead the Aerogear project. And Aerogear is about mobile connectivity, mobile libraries for the typical Java EE developer. As you said, I came to mobile through different jobs. Originally, I was very involved in server-side stuff and Java server faces, where I was at some point the project lead of Apache MyFaces, which is a Apache-hosted implementation of the spec. And then through different jobs, I basically ended up being more involved in mobile development. At my previous job, I had the lucky position to actually learn Objective-C for iOS development, and this basically led me into the direction that I'm currently at. So I'm leading up the Aerogear project for JBoss.
How does that fit? I mean, Java and Objective-C, isn't you are an app developer or what are you doing? I mean, tell me about Aerogear.
All right, so Aerogear has a bunch of different libraries, not only for iOS. It has libraries for Android. It has libraries for iOS. We also support the hybrid developer path, for instance, with Apache Cordova. So what different libraries we have there is basically libraries, not really apps in that term. They help you to establish connections, like HTTP connections to a traditional Java EE-based backend, right? So the server-side part is still vanilla Java EE app that has a JAX REST, and then your RESTful endpoints can be consumed using our different libraries. So yeah, and besides the libraries, we also do have a recent focus had on the push side of things, so integration with push notifications. In August, the end of August, we did have a release for our unified push server, which is now 1.0.0. Well, the current version right now is 1.0.1, but in August was a big launch for unified push server 1.0.0.
Okay. What's the business issue you're really solving with Aerogear and the push server? I mean, I've seen it's running on Openshift, right? So, I
Yeah.
mean, I have a hard time to wrap my mind around what it really is. So,
Yeah, I can give you guys a demo that also shows the different.
awesome idea. Go ahead.
Yeah, shows also the different perspective of what we do. Let me jump straight into my demo. Start the screen sharing. You guys, oops, sorry. All right, you should be able to see my screen now, right?
There we go.
All right. So we have a demo application called Aerodoc, which is basically following the idea of a system for sales representatives, where an administrator can launch new different leads, and then we have mobile clients that are using the Aerogear libraries, so that a sales agent that is on the road can actually have access to the system and seeing what kind of new leads are in there. He could then even use the mobile application to actually say, yes, I'm going to visit that customer. So the different client libraries, well, basically the different client libraries used in those apps for Android, Cordova, or native iOS, what they leverage basically is doing HTTP communication against the backend service. So the UI that you see here has been originally started out with Forge, standard Java EE application, basically a CRUD kind of system where we have some leads here. The test system already has a lead in there. It uses the location name of San Francisco, and here's the doctor, Dr. Sean Rogers, with a phone number. And when I click on a particular name, what the backend basically does, it uses Hibernate Search for doing the geo part, and then I could scroll out a little bit, and I could see if there is a sales representative in San Francisco or not. Well, yeah, being my local development case here, the phones, the clients that you will see in a second, when you log in, they use the geodata from the operating system, meaning Android and iOS, and obviously I'm not located in San Francisco, hence there is no sales agent here.
Too bad you haven't been to Java 1 at all, right? So
No, not this year.
yeah.
All right. So what you see here is my iPad. We have the mobile application for Aerodoc as well. So this is an app that you can also download, not in the App Store, but that you can download from the GitHub repository that we have. And here I'm Sales Agent Maria, right? And I've set up my credentials here, and I perform the login. So what happens here is the application uses the Aerogear library for iOS. Under the covers, it's basically assessing a protected RESTful endpoint, and you see the same list of customers over here, right? When I click on Dr. Sean Rogers, I could then use accept or dismiss, meaning, yeah, I'm going to visit that customer. If I would click accept, it would be removed from the visible list because there is already a sales agent going to that guy. The app itself also has a little bit of reflection of the status, right? The sales agent could be on PDO, but I'm not messing around with that one right now. So the interaction between the server and the client for all of this has been pure vanilla HTTP communication from the mobile device over the cloud to Java EE application that is basically leveraging REST Easy, the JAX REST implementation. Something that I could do is on the back end, I'm creating a new lead. Let me name Dr. King Schultz. I use my location, my home address here. Okay, and then I submit a new lead in the system, and here we see Dr. King Schultz. And again, the procedure is somewhat similar. So right now I have the map of my local city. That particular, because I didn't use any specific address data, I'm located here in the city center. I'm also not living in the city center. But please watch the section here with the different names for the sales agents. And then when I scroll a little bit here, you see various guys. In this case, it's all me because I used various devices, Android, iOS. For iOS, I have my iPod and my iPhone and my iPad. So yeah. Now I can see, okay, Maria probably had already a history with that particular doctor. Maybe she's a good candidate to visit that guy again. Now when I select Maria here, and then later on when I click the send, what happens basically, a HTTP request is submitted to the backend of the Aerodoc case over JAX REST, standard REST, and then it basically triggers a business rule that Maria is the one that should visit the customer. And this business rule is issuing a push notification request to Apple's cloud using our unified push server, and then Maria gets notified while she's on the road, hey, a new lead has been entered into the system and it would be a good idea to drive to that customer. Let me show the whole integration flow. So now I click here on send, and then what happened here is I got a push notification. So the send button in the web UI really was just a traditional HTTP post request against the backend, and in the backend system, a business rule, as said before, has been triggered, and only Maria got a push notification. A new lead has been created. So when I open the app now, Dr. King Schultz is there. So what happens here, based on a push notification, I was opening the app, which caused the app to refresh the view, right? The push notification was the driver to wake up the app again and to do a underneath HTTP GET of all the leads in that system, right?
Okay.
So what I could do is I could use another phone that I have here. It's not using AirPlay on the server, sorry, on my screencast here. But now I'm a different sales agent, and I was a little bit faster because I was browsing the system, and I'm already next to Dr. King Schultz, so another sales agent could see the whole list of all the leads in that system as well. And what I do now is I go in and I accept the lead for Dr. King Schultz, and so did you see there is another different kind of push notification? It said a new lead has been accepted. What happened here is from my iPhone, another HTTP request was going against the Aerodoc server saying Jake is now going to that customer, which then triggered a different business rule informing all the other sales guys to not visit that customer. And this business rule is attached to a push notification request as well. So in this case, Maria got a push notification, a new lead has been accepted. On my iPod, I was then reading that push notification, and as you saw again, based on the push notification, we forced the app to do a refresh on all the leads that we have here in the system, and Dr. King Schultz is now gone, right? So that is a full round trip of what you can do with different mobile libraries. Standard Java EE application for HTTP integration, and then based on business rule, trigger notification to, let's say, sales agents.
And the business rules are located exactly where? In the Java EE application or in the messaging server?
No, they are based in the Java EE application. So a rule is there. You could even use a business rule engine. But we basically have a little simple hard-coded, because the demo already uses a bunch of stuff, like including Hibernate Sage. So we tried to shrink down the components used in that demo. So it was basically something coded in that RESTful endpoint. If the one that is accepting the lead sent a message to everybody else, that is basically.
Okay, so you basically don't have
to JBMS to another business processing tool. That's totally valid.
Okay, and you don't have to actually tie it to the unified push server, but you can just use REST endpoints and trigger them. Perfect, sounds
right. And one, the push notification here was really used to demonstrate very well the different libraries that we have for reading from standard JAX RS endpoints and then using really push notifications to trigger something, right? Because as you see now on the screen, the application is in the background, right? You wouldn't even understand there are new leads, or new leads have been accepted by my coworkers, right? So we use the push notification to actually trigger a notification, and then we use the push basically to drive the app.
Okay, and I understood you have a bunch of client libraries like iOS, Android. What did I miss?
We also have support for. Let me go back to the visible part. We also have support for Cordova. And Cordova, we target the two platforms, Cordova iOS and Cordova Android.
Okay. What do I need to get started? What's the best place to look at if I really want to learn something about Aerogear?
Yeah. Our homepage definitely is a good. Let me go back to screen share mode. Our homepage definitely is a good starting point, and there we talk a little bit about the different parts that are supported. So we have JavaScript for the mobile web, we have iOS and Android for native, and we have Cordova for hybrid development. And here we highlight, for instance, the push server a little bit here, and our whole idea about mobile development. The website itself has a bunch of stuff. It has different tutorials, it has different guides on how to get started. If you come for a specific problem, it's probably a good idea to look through our section of documentation and then see if your need has been catered by our libraries that we have. Another good idea is probably also going to our GitHub repository or organization. We have a bunch of different projects or repository is better, on github.com/Aerogear. Besides the actual parts, for instance, the unified push server, we also have a bunch of demos, as I said before. For instance, this is a push quick start, or for the different clients, we also have cookbooks where we have different recipes that basically explain how to do certain cases on a specific platform. For instance, one of the things that are already implemented on iOS is in the iOS cookbook, there is an application that is called Shoot and Share, and that basically allows you to use your iOS device, and you can take a picture or upload a picture from your existing photo gallery on the device, and then you can upload it, for instance, to Facebook or to Google. And right now the iOS team is working on doing an upload to a local application that is protected by Keycloak. And the authentication mechanism for that one is basically using OAuth 2. So you would have to set up the credentials for Facebook case or for the Google case, or if you want to run it locally against something protected by Keycloak, you would need some specific configuration for that one as well.
Okay, and the easiest way to run the unified push server would be ?
On Openshift, it's kind of neat. We are a what's the name? Promoted cartridge. So on Openshift, if you have an account already, there is this Add Application button, and if you click on there, yeah, sometimes it's in the featured, sometimes it's in the list of instant apps. So there's the cartridge for Aerogear Push. So if you click on that guy, all you really need to do is you need to type in a name that you really would like to use. What it underneath does for you is creates the Wildfly server where the Aerogear stuff is deployed on, and as the database we do use the MySQL, and then you just click create application here. That takes a little bit until the server is launched and all the stuff has been deployed, and once it is there, you will be redirected to the login UI. Let me give you a little demo of the push server UI, because the demo was quite heavily using the push server, right? But we didn't really have to directly interact with it. It was all triggered by business rules, right? If you're curious what the server looks like, the UI that we have, once the application has been launched, and then you can log in. On the default user is admin and password is 123. On first login, it asks you to reset the password. And then once you did a login, you will come to the dashboard, which is our landing page. You get some metrics, some statistics in here, so you can see I use this quite a lot for different talks, different testings and whatnot. So I have 6 different applications running here. I have a number of push notifications that have been delivered through my system, delivered to Google and delivered to Apple for iOS and Android push notifications. And overall, I have 12 different devices registered with the server. And you can here see some of the recent activity. For instance, I click on this particular one, a new lead has been created, right? You can see that one installation has been hit. And here, the other one, that a new lead has been accepted, was going to all the things, all the different variants that I have in there. The push server has one nice piece inside of the UI. I could use the send mechanism straight from the UI. So I could basically test if the application is working or not. So I can submit something in here, and I could let me try this on Aerodoc. Test for Marcus. So this is using a reserved key for iOS. So oops. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So I can use the send push functionality from the UI to basically test if the setup, right, of all the different parts the Apple required metadata, and finally my device, if that is all successful, right? And you could see, yeah, my test message has been submitted.
Perfect. That looks pretty neat and pretty easy to navigate, so I definitely need to play around with that. What's next on the schedule for Aerogear? So it was a 1.0.1 that's
Yeah,
already out.
that was for the push server. Things that are currently being actively worked on is improving client libraries for OAuth 2, and then getting more demos in there. And another major part is doing data sync. So if you guys in our team are now focusing on data sync includes or will include a sync server engine with different endpoints, and then on the client side, we definitely need support for libraries so that app developers could use, or let's say, Android library, which they can use for data sync, right? So the client library that has been used then later on in the apps needs a way to actually send, here is what I currently edited, like needs the way to send a diff to the server or the full change, and then the server needs to filter out the diff, the data. And then also another device was sending something to the engine. The server needs a way to actually promote the diff to all the other devices. So that is currently part of our focus, as well as offline generally, so that apps need to work offline, and then later on when you are going online, and then you can trigger a sync so that you can still use your app and type something within your app, or on a train or on a plane, whatever, where you have no good connectivity, and then later on when you be online back again, there should be a mechanism to say, hey, upgrade to the latest greatest from the true source, right, from the database or wherever.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty busy schedule for the next coming month.
Oh, yeah, it's quite, it's quite something.
Any chance to catch you talking about Aerogear live and in person over the next couple of weeks, or
Yeah.
are you mostly busy developing?
Both. So actually next Monday in Ljubljana there is Open Land. I will be there giving a specific talk about the Unified Push server. And then in November, early November, I'm in Munich at the WJAX conference, where I also have a talk about the Unified Push server.
That sounds brilliant and busy. Matthias, thanks a lot. I hope to run into you again soonish for another beer. Like we're both Germans and had a talk for almost half an hour in English. We need something to make up for that part, right? So thanks a lot. I hope to talk to you soonish and be successful.
Thanks for having me, Marcus.
Bye.
Bye.